reasonable price.
It is good pizza.
Okay, great. So, can we talk a bit about your motivations for starting your own business and kind of how you got started, I guess, in the early days? What was like the thing that made you want to do it, and how did you first go about it? Chris?
Post university, I went into a marketing job, hated it, so left that. Went to Birmingham College of Food for a year to learn about food. Then I worked in London in restaurant management for about 7 years. I ended up getting made redundant from a restaurant group that kind of shrunk, and decided to come back to the Midlands, where I'm originally from, to set up a food business. Originally, it was supposed to be a burger restaurant, but not knowing that much about renting property, after 6 months I had got absolutely nowhere. So I first of all opened up a cafe day called the 8 Foot Grocer. Stocked loads of Pip's lovely hot sauces, fantastic stuff. And then a couple of years in, my landlord said, "Do you want the site that's next door to it?" I turned him down twice, and he offered me a third time, and I gave up, and he gave me a lovely site for very little money. I've always loved pizza, and it was a perfect rectangle for a pizza restaurant. After about a year and a bit, Otto was making about 80% of our revenue. We needed more prep space, so we closed the 8 Foot Grocer to grow Otto as a business.
Like I sort of said beforehand, I did everything the wrong way round. The reason I said I went fully into business with Pip's Hot Sauces because I was working in the third sector, and the project that I was working on had just come to the end of its funding, so I kind of knew that things weren't very settled for me. And then I had this little part-time gig with Pip's Hot Sauce, which I'd started making, that was going mental. People were, really. The Plough and Harbour, one of the best gastro pubs in Birmingham, were basically my first customer, so I lucked out. They caught me using a bottle of my own sauce when I was having lunch there one day, and said, I genuinely thought that they were going to go, "Oi, you can't use that here, out." Actually, what they did was go, "Right, give me 128 bottles of that next week." So I kind of panicked, and I was like at this kind of crisis point. So I knew that our new development manager at my day job wasn't going to help me get any more funding for my post because he was a git. And I just thought, right, let's go for it. I started doing some farmers markets, and it just went from there. Like I said, I would really not advise going into business that way because I've made so many mistakes because I haven't ever really thought about it or sat down and did a plan. And I only did that 3 years into setting my business up, and it was kind of a bad idea to leave it too late. I've just been really lucky that I've got a good product.
I'm a bit different to these guys in the sense that I don't think I've actually had a real job. I actually started on BC with another business, with a marketing consultancy. Slight plug to BC, definitely apply for it. And the way it worked out for me is actually I won a contract with the council with the marketing business, and although it was really good money, I absolutely hated it. And my Dine was an idea I had for a long while prior to setting it up. We only launched 2 years ago, and I kind of thought, don't really want to work for anybody else. I had a part-time job in sports direct, which I also hated, and I kind of thought, there's this niggling feeling behind in the back of my head that I still want to set this food business up. So for me, the kind of turning point for me was the idea is still there, and I don't enjoy what I'm doing now, so let's just go all in with the meal prep side of things, and that's kind of where we're at now.
So you kind of touched on this a bit. How much kind of market research did you do before kind of diving in? And how did you approach kind of your competitors, and what kind of research did you do around that? And did you let it stop you? No, you didn't. You did it anyway. But yeah, what were kind of the preparations that you did before launching?
I guess having a marketing background, it'd be terrible if I didn't do market research. So that first time I actually did, and I kind of noticed the meal prep space was not a very well-known market. In the fitness space, it's quite kind of well established, but generally speaking, people are more familiar with recipe boxes. So in terms of market research, I kind of did a lot of research into my direct competitors, but also those, I guess, indirect competitors. So although I would classify the business as a meal prep company, we still compete with the likes of the recipe boxes like HelloFresh and Gusto's and such, because they're leaders in the market and they offer a similar type of service. So I didn't let it deter me because I was very kind of confident in the idea. It was just, how do we differentiate ourselves from what they already do? So the concept was a bit different in the sense that you could fully customise your meals, whereas recipe boxes don't allow for that. They give you a set option. And our other USP was you can have Caribbean flavours or foods that you've never tried before. If you have, you can have something that's a bit more homely. So that's where our kind of research took us, was it's something a bit different, something that people may not have tried. And although there's big players in the market already, we're kind of actually working towards a different audience. So it didn't really do that much in terms of what can be achieved. It was more like how we're going to tackle it.
Right, okay, so I think I've made it quite clear that I did absolutely none of this stuff before I got started. But that sort of 3 years in, when I did start to retrospectively do all this homework that I should have done beforehand, I'm quite glad that I did wait almost, because just circumstantially, because of the way that the business that I'm in operates. When I first started, there was really just like a handful, if that, nationally, across the country, across the world to a degree, of independent hot sauce producers. That market's really changed, and now every Tom, Dick and Harry is basically cooking up a hot sauce in their back kitchen. It's a really growing, changing market. And I think, having retrospectively done some market research when we'd already, got an established brand, got a place in the marketplace as well, it's made me realise that actually it's something that you need to do all the time, because things can change so much. So in a way, I'm quite glad that I didn't do it at the beginning, because I might have just done it and never looked at it again, whereas now I'm looking at it constantly, to the point where I'm slightly paranoid. Well, slightly.
It's always worth knowing what's around you, but I used to, when I was in London many moons ago, I used to work for Tortilla, and Tortilla Chilango opened up on the same street in Islington within a couple of weeks of each other. You can do your research, and there may be other people who are doing the same thing that you want to do, but that doesn't mean that you can't do it. It doesn't mean that the market's not big enough. Birmingham's a big city at the end of the day. There's enough space for lots of restaurants. It's worth going out and checking what the competition is doing, because if they've got a much better product than you at the same price, people are going to go to them. But look what's around you, but don't be afraid of what's out there. You want to go out there and improve on what's already there. If you want to go out and do worse than other people, then probably don't go into the business.
It's more indicative of changing hunters rather than a threat to you, isn't it? Yeah.
So let's talk about the food itself. So you've all got quite different products when it comes to the actual food. How did you kind of develop that? How did you kind of come up with the recipes or the things that you were going to sell?
Living in London for 7 or so years, there's pizza restaurants there that have been there for quite a few years. Franco Manca. I went to that when that was just 2 sites. They're both in Brixton Market, and one site was there, and the other site was there. They've grown quite a lot. There's other great guys like Pizza Pilgrims, Santa Maria, loads of them. So I knew roughly what I wanted to do in Birmingham with a very simple offering. We're not offering fish, we're not offering meat, we're not offering pasta dishes. We do pizza, we're a pizza restaurant. In relation to recipes, go online, read some basic recipes, and test and test and test and test until you've got something that you think is great, and then keep testing after that. You know, we're 3 years in, and we're still developing our dough recipe. It becomes smaller and smaller bits, but it's, you know, sometimes you can end up researching how to change your recipes slightly, and then suddenly something clicks and you've worked out how to make a massive stride forward. So the key thing with recipes is just keep practicing again and again, and just change one little thing, one little thing, one little thing.
Yeah, absolutely. However, my first one was completely different. That was just writing down what I thought would be my ideal chilli sauce, and without actually knowing that I was going through a similar process, what I then did was actually do that. When I as I said, I was working in the third sector. Salary wasn't great, so I started making this product and giving it away to people as presents and listening for feedback. And I even at one point took it down to my local pub where they used to do gigs on a Saturday afternoon and just put some nachos out and some sauce and sort of hovered listening to what people said, kind of like a bit of a weirdo. Well, I think we've established that anyway. Well, yeah, I didn't know it was market research, but I was doing that. So, and it was market research in a pub, what's not to love? You know, so yeah, listen to feedback and knowing that it's what you really want to do, want to make and are happy with making. And that's the most important bit behind my product. And I've gone way off.
The food that we make, as I mentioned, it's healthy Caribbean food, which anybody who's had Caribbean food knows that the two words don't match. Because Caribbean food, generally speaking, is full of oil and salt. So I guess the recipes are a bit different because my parents are Jamaican, so I've grown up with Caribbean food. So it was just kind of part and parcel. Like I nearly burnt down the kitchen at 8 years old, so from that point it was anyway it was up really. So yes, a lot of our food is like I say, it's all authentic food, but then we've also got the fusion side of things, which is a bit different. My, I guess, trial and error process with recipes was we don't have any oil in our food, and we don't have any added sauce. So it was figuring out a way how to cook Caribbean food without those two ingredients, which are kind of very prominent in Caribbean food. And that was about 6 months of just trial and error. How do we get this to work, and how do we make it taste the same without kind of, you know, the usual things that you'd find in it. And again, that was a lot of trial and error, and a lot of people trying it and going, that tastes terrible, which you've got to have a thick skin because food that you've cooked for the whole of your life, you've got to effectively change it. And then you've got to have people become more accustomed to a different type of texture, because the flavours are the same, it's just the texture that's a bit different. So for me, it was a lot of trial and error in terms of flavour profiles and how do we make it taste the same but cook it differently.
So maybe let's move on to some of the kind of practical challenges that you faced running a food business. So is there anything you can share with these guys about maybe the logistics that you have to deal with, or the legal side of things, or any kind of challenges you've been facing, practically speaking?
Right, your local environmental health officer is not your enemy. Talk to them straight away and get advice from them. They're not the big baddie. They're actually, you know, before you go and spend money on processes or equipment or kitting out a kitchen this way or that way, just talk to them. Yes, they are ridiculously underfunded and understaffed in that department, so they might be a little bit flustered, but they genuinely will appreciate it if you approach them first.
Second that, our kind of food hygiene inspector, because we run this whole operation from my mum's house, which to her dismay, we've now converted basically the whole ground floor into a fully functioning uni space. And before we did all that, we had them come out. If you run a food business, they need to by law. And she gave us the kind of wealth of knowledge that we needed in order to make sure we were cooking food kind of correctly, safely, chilling it down at the right temperature. And yeah, in terms of like logistics, that's probably our biggest nightmare, because we have to get food from Birmingham to anywhere in the country in 24 hours, still cold. So that's our biggest kind of logistical nightmare. It's very expensive and it's very time consuming. So you spend all this time making a wonderful, pretty product, and then it's at the mercy of delivery drivers who just want to get the parcel to the destination. So we spend a lot of time figuring out how we're going to package the product, how it's going to get from A to B in one piece, how it's going to look when it gets to the customer. So we do a lot of test runs, which are also expensive because they don't do it for free. So you send a load of parcels up, to Scotland, some down to Plymouth, some to London, and see how the customer receives them. And then you kind of work from there and how to improve it, how to change it. So in the last 2 years, we've changed our packaging 3 or 4 times, including the actual meals themselves, the boxes, and how they get to the customer too. And that's just from a case of trial and error. So we did have a few instances where customers received meals scrapped, and we were like, okay, we've got to change the packaging, how we do it, so on and so forth. So it's just a process, but logistics is one of the things you have to be mindful of.
Have suppliers that you trust. There's no point in having a supplier that is the cheapest supplier out there, but when you need a product to turn up, it doesn't turn up, and then you're stuffed. So one, find good suppliers that you trust, that will deliver every time. Not always the cheapest, and then have a backup. So if we can't get our tin tomatoes from one supplier, we've actually got 2 backups for that. And with every product we do have backups. For our drink side, we take local beers, so we've got a selection of local breweries that we can take beers from. So that there's been a beer festival and they're all running a bit short, you can still get 4 beers on tap all the time from these small local breweries by making sure that you've covered yourself on your supply side.
Great. So do any of you have, I guess, a typical customer? And did you know who that was going to be at the start? And has that changed at all? Who you actually sell to the most? And what kind of marketing do you do? What works well for you? Sorry, some questions.
Ideal customer to start with, when you do all kind of the marketing planning and mapping and customer profiling, you have an idea of what your customer will be. Ours was kind of the working professional who's time poor, hasn't got time to cook, and soon changed, not drastically, but we found that people in the fitness sector really wanted healthy meal preps that wasn't kind of meat to veg. So we went from this ideal customer to a slightly different customer. And now we actually find that we have a lot of customers are in the elderly space. So people actually made it sound really, what did you say it was?
Posh meals on
Posh meals on wheels. I'll take it. So we find that we have a lot of customers in the kind of 65 plus bracket who can't actually cook for themselves anymore but want authentic Caribbean food. So yeah, our customer profile has changed over time. It's what we initially kind of planned for.
Right, again, it might surprise you that I didn't really have any idea what my sort of customer would be. But what I have learned and what's developed, and is something that I'm really conscious of, particularly in what, let's face it, for products like mine are really dodgy times at the moment. It's not an easy market out there, and the best way to deal with a difficult market is to not rely on one market. I'm very lucky in that I'm not relying for punters to come in the door like you are, or hungry. There are different. I'm not relying for people at customers at home. I've got different marketplaces, so I supply national cinema chains. I supply individuals, Joe Blogs, at farmers markets and food markets, different things like that. I supply retail customers and I supply restaurant customers like yourself, and bars and restaurants. So there's a lot of different outlets there for me, when the economy is up and down, and that is reflected in which parts of those columns, if you like, are on the up and which are slightly down. So at the moment, places like coffee shops and things like that, they are being affected by the fact that people are a little bit more cautious at the moment, so they're withdrawing some of their orders. They've gone down about a third. Having said that, people still want to treat themselves, so in individual markets where we're facing customers directly, we're actually seeing a massive uplift in that sort of trade at the moment. So we're really lucky, and if you get the opportunity in whatever sort of business you do, to not just have one typical customer group do it, and make sure you don't put all your eggs in that one customer. But because at one point it will be massive on one side and really low on the other. Don't ever take your eye off the other markets as well, because things change all the time and you need to make sure that everybody's happy.
To continue from what Pip says, our customer when we first opened was very, very local to the jewellery quarter, probably 21 to 35. Since then, it's developed, so we've got everyone from 16-year-olds who are coming for a birthday to people in their 70s who drive over from Edgbaston in their Range Rovers, park on the double yellows outside and then come in. But everyone out there is potentially a customer. I'd say that going from what Pip said, that you've got to be aware that there's lots of potential customers. So with your product, don't make it so specialist that it's going to just be for one person. If you've got a restaurant that is so super cool that no one above 25 will feel comfortable in there, then you're closing off yourself to a lot more. You might get loads of people who are 18 to 25, but eventually those people won't be 18 to 25, and they'll be outside that group and they won't be coming. So just keep it flexible.
Can I just add one thing? I've got a customer that quite a large, quite an important customer that we supply the stores that he has on the tables in his restaurants, and he got wind of the main part of the business, the little sort of Pip's Hot Sauce side that doesn't supply the restaurants and things like that, I get to have a lot of fun with. So we've worked with the artist Fokker Wolf, who's a bit of an Asian provocateur at the moment, in designing a special label. We've partnered up with Provider Fashion Shop, and we put CBD oil in this sauce. So we're the first producer in the UK to put this oil in the sauce. This particular restaurant chain customer has seen this bottle and thought, that's fantastic. Can you get this guy to redesign our bottle for us, and we'll have the sauce like that? Fantastic idea, but he's forgetting that most of his customers are 4x4 driving Tory voters. I really don't think having artwork designed by Fokker Wolf on their bottles is going to work for him. So, at the same, don't marginalise by trying to be too cool for school. Everybody's your potential customer. Unfortunately, even the 4x4 driving Tories. So, yes. Yeah.
So let's talk about your team or people you work with. So is it just you? Do you work with someone else? Do you have a business partner? Tell us about that.
Just me and my dad. So me and my dad run the business together, which, if I'm honest, I was kind of adamant against for the first year. So the first year I spent running around like a head of chicken, doing the order fulfillment, the cooking, the washing, the prepping, the logistics, and then it just got too much. And my dad, who's actually a chef, Sam, didn't want to work with him. He's a chef and I didn't want to use him. He ended up, you have to teach him, but again, you try and teach at the time a 57-year-old man something new. So after we got over those teething kind of problems, it was actually not that bad at all, and to this day it's been a saving grace. So, a lot of the time we just work together in the kitchen, and it's not like a conventional kitchen where you see chefs screaming. It's not like a Gordon Ramsay type scenario. My dad's a Jamaican guy, he's so chill, he's going backwards, so a lot of the time we go in the kitchen, he'll say, what do you need to do? I'll say X, Y and Z, cool, I'll let you know when I'm done, and that's it. So it's just me and my dad that do all the meals, and then everything else kind of logistics, delivery, that's all me.
I predominantly me, but I have a team of casual part-time staff that I can call in for various different roles. My partner was supposed to work with me as well, but I've kind of phased him out of the business because we were a bad influence on each other and basically didn't get enough work done. So I'd be honest about your personal relationships before you bring them into your business relationships, I would say. He still theoretically thinks he's as much a part of the business, but that's political. Well, he's not, but I'll just let him think he is, because it works for me. So, but yeah, having people you trust and people you can work with is really difficult. And for me, it was really difficult to learn to tell people no, or actually, I want it done like this. There's a reason for it. If you can't deal with that, then we're not going to be able to work together. And you don't have to be an absolute cow to do that. You can say it with a smile and mean it, and people understand it. And I think that was a massive learning curve for me. So just don't try and be a cow. how, but also make your point reasonably.
I've got a team of 13 people, a mixture of full-time and part-time, some people very part-time, but your business is made up of many different people. We've got the full-timers who it's a career for, we've got guys who are there as university students because they need the money. There's nothing, wrong, but you have to accept that you've got different people, you can only ask them to do so much. So my head chef is George. He lives and breathes the business. On the next site, he's actually buying into the second site. And we're buying an off-site pizza oven, which will be a 50-50 project. Staffing is difficult, and you will have good staff and you'll have bad staff, but the business needs to be able to continue with the change of people. Most restaurant businesses go through 100% turnover every year, so you can't, with most people, you can't expect them to absolutely kill themselves for you. They've got massive lives outside of your workplace. You just need them to do a good enough job for what you need.
Probably got a couple more questions, and then if you guys start thinking about what you might want to ask as well. So just reflecting on what you've done so far, what has been, I guess, a mistake you've made along the way that you've really learned from? Anything stand out?
Go speak to an accountant right at the start. Don't wait until your first accounts are due, because your accountant will tell you, well, you should have been claiming for this, 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 and this, and you go, get your numbers in order and keep going back to them. I must admit, at the start, you're going to be over pushed. You're going to not have enough time, but keep on top of those management figures. Just so that you know where you're making money, because you don't want to go a couple of years down the line and go, crap, I've been losing money on this product for a whole year. It's wasting your time to do that. So keep on top of your numbers and just constantly keep looking at them. And again, with the actual product, keep developing it, because the market is developing. For example, when I worked for Tortilla, it was the best part of 10 years ago, and people used to ask for a margarita, thinking that it was a pizza rather than a frozen drink. People didn't know what burritos were, 10 years ago. The market changes constantly, will continue changing, so you need to develop with it. So keep recipes fresh and keep looking at your numbers.
Absolutely everything Chris said, but another thing is don't get carried away and do things out of vanity. A lot of small businesses will go, right, we've got to get these big premises and we've got to sign up for this massive event, or we've got to pay for this huge advertising campaign. And if they're completely honest with themselves, it will be vanity. We've got to have this liveried van that looks the bomb. We've got to have this, we've got to have that. Why? What's it actually doing to your business? Is it because it makes you feel like you're king of the hill because you've got your logo all over something? Don't say yes to everything that you're asked to do, and don't get carried away.
Yeah, I'd second that in terms of not getting carried away, and specificity, trying to keep the business to start with as lean as possible. So trying to do as much as you can on the smallest budget as humanly possible. Yeah, as the smallest budget possible. I think the thing for Mydon was when we first launched the website, God knows how many meal combinations there were, but you could make a few thousand meal combinations in terms of what you could mix and match. And me and my dad would be in the kitchen from 6 in the morning. Well, I'd be from 3 to go to the wholesalers, and then from 6 in the morning cooking till 1 in the afternoon. And then you've got a package at the same time, and before you know it, you've been working for the last 14 hours. And you kind of find that you haven't really made much money based on the work that you've done. So if you can be as specific as possible and keep the idea as lean as possible, then you'll see what does work and what doesn't work, what you can tweak and change, and spend as little money as humanly possible.
And on a positive note, can you share something that's happened so far that was just really made it all worth it, made all the hard work worth it, a real success moment?
This isn't necessarily the biggest, and it's not about making meeting famous people or winning one of the many awards that we've won. But I was driving the van to my local Nisa in King's Heath the other day, and I've got a little sticker that says Pip's Hot Sauce on the back, and this woman looking at me, and she goes, that sticker, that sauce, do you something to do with that? I was like, well, yeah, that's my business, I make it. She's like, I bought that sauce in the local Nisa. It's amazing. They said it was a local product. And I thought, yes, that's what rock and roll moment that is. I'm getting stopped on the street by somebody who's bought a bottle of my sauce in a local Nisa. I'll take that.
Mine's probably a bit similar. Well, I'm not supposed to be stuck, so I wish. Every time I get stuck is when people think I'm Denise Lewis, so it's not really. Anyway, this summer, she actually didn't tell anybody about, but I can now. I actually got asked to do a TV show with a TV chef, which unfortunately I had to turn down, but for me it was a big thing for me because, again, I kind of expected that, we're just a build-up company in and around Birmingham, and when you get a phone call from a producer, from a Gordon Ramsay TV show that says we want you to do X, Y, and Z, it's a big, oh, okay then, we must be doing something right moment. At that time I couldn't tell anybody, and I couldn't do it unfortunately, because I had other commitments. But yeah, that's probably a big kind of moment for me, which actually nobody knows about somehow.
To be quite boring, it's quite similar, and it's quite vain, all these award things, but you put your heart and soul into it. So being mentioned in magazines, so we've been in, mentioned GQ, Content House Traveller, BBC Good Food. The one that really was important to us was when we were named Best Piece from Bone by Choose Bone, because I've read their weekly mailer for years now, and we knew that they were going to do this article. Katie, who wrote the article, sent me an email saying, I'm going to be coming in on Saturday. Unfortunately, I was on holiday, so I didn't get this email until Monday. So she came, and I hadn't told the team that she was coming because, I didn't know until I got back. And then when the article came out, we were at the bottom of the list, and I just got more and more nervous as I was reading down, and then it named us the best one at the bottom. And after 3 years and so much hard work, just little things like that are absolutely spectacular. Also, Bob Geldof came in once just as we were closing. So
that's pretty good.
Fun stuff.
Great. Well, I'm going to open it up now and see if you guys have any questions for either all of the panelists or one in particular. Don't be shy. Everybody. Yes.
How did you go about funding, starting it up? Did you approach a bank, or was it from savings?
That's a great question.
Mine was a little bit of help from my parents and savings. As the guys have said, just try and start it on as little money as possible. Ask your friends to come in. Some bacon sandwiches and some beers will go a long, long way to getting a restaurant painted. You probably know someone who knows someone who's a plumber. They'll probably come and do you a favour in exchange for produce, whether it's hot sauce or pizza or whatever. But people really will help you. So banks are afraid of lending money to start up food businesses. So the things that Aston University are doing with helping you, go for that money. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you can avoid starting with a big debt over your head as much as possible. As hard as it might be, avoid it. There's designers out there that will help you take them out and get them drunk, as I did. It can be done.
Well, they're great again, another plug. for BC is that my first business was started on BC, and the money that I made from that I used to fund my Dine. So it was all self-funded and whatever savings I had, but it was quite useful in the sense that you have the office space, you have the resource, they give you the £500, win-win, so it's free money, to use. So utilise what's around you, and then from that point you can build from it, because I genuinely think if I wasn't on the BC programme, I don't think I'd be doing what I do now, because trying to fund something from kind of no savings or no money from the previous business, it probably would have been a bang and you kind of want to stay, well, you don't have to stay clear of it, but if you don't have to have the debt, you don't need to. So.
Great. Any other questions? Yes.
I'm currently working with a company, we're a health and social care sector. We've got a independent school for kids that have been kicked out of normal school, or they're getting involved in knife crime and criminal activity. We've just taken on a cafe to use for them to start developing their skills and maybe get an apprenticeship or some sort of training in cooking. So for us, the huge part that we're having to find out about is the compliance side of food.
Talk to the Housing Association that's based at the bottom of Frost and Snow was the social enterprise that they had set up for training for people.
It's
Yeah.
Great Hampton Street.
Great Hampton Street, there's a housing association. They used to have a social enterprise that was helping, NEETs, various different members of their community, their tenants into training and work through a cafe called Frost and Snow. Frost and Snow isn't going anymore, but there'll be somebody within that. It's not Trident, I can't remember which association it is.
Is it something hard?
Yeah,
I think it is.
not 100% certain.
not.
But talk to them, there'll be somebody within that business who can help you out.
And is there like guides and stuff? I've looked on.
Also, if you have a word with Digbeth Social Enterprise, talk to me afterwards, I can dig out her email. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's a social enterprise company that's specifically there to signpost for funding and for compliance projects like you.
ISE, is it? Sarah Crawley?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
it. That's what she said. And that will be quicker than me going through my emails as well.
Questions?
I've got one.
Karen?
I just wondered what your future plans are when you plan to expansion. I think maybe you touched on it, Chris.
Yeah. Second restaurant and offsite. The offsite is more of for this year it'll be more of a play thing. We'll do private events rather than going off to big festivals. It's kind of dip your toe in the water. This is where getting an accountant, speaking to an accountant, because most accountants will actually speak to you for free for the first time, so take advantage of that. You might go back to them and get them some business, but most of them will talk to you for free. But things like capital goods, so if we buy a pizza oven and we end up not making any money off it, we can actually claim that against tax on the rest of the business. So we've got the off-site and we've got a second site. We're looking towards kind of Sutton direction. I don't want to be too far away because you just want consistency between, it's hard enough to have consistency at one site. So if I had a site in Leeds, just getting between the two of them would just mean that consistency would be a real issue. But by having them close at the moment, we can continue working on consistency.
Surviving Brexit. Somebody had to say it at some point, but everybody's, people are crapping themselves basically. People aren't spending on the high street. You've got large customers that were drawing back, but then you've got other customers that are spending more. Just being a little bit savvy about it and being able to maintain our position in the marketplace without taking any serious knocks on the cost of importing products and things like that, and just not letting it get to us.
Mine's probably kind of diversifying in what we do. So we've got the meal prep side of things, but we also get a lot of inquiries about events catering, so events for parties or whatever else. And initially it wasn't a focus or an interest. And kind of once you get inundated, you kind of have to follow the money as well. So for us, we have a quiet period every summer where people aren't at work, they're looking after kids, so they don't need to order meals. But we get a lot of kind of questions and inquiries about events catering, so we've actually just launched our events catering side of the business, which are for large parties.
And Chris, you have gone through the pains of finding a premises for your restaurant. Is there anything that these guys should know about that? Some of the challenges around actually having a proper premises?
Walk around a lot, and estate agents are liars. They will promise you the earth. They will also. So when I was in London, I actually looked at very, very briefly setting up a business in London. But the numbers are just crazy over there, and you'd get commercial estate agents constantly contacting you. When I came to Birmingham, the opposite was true. You'd say, "Hi, I'm looking to set up a restaurant in Birmingham. I'm looking for this, this, and this," and 3-4 weeks later, you would get an email back saying, "Thank you, I've just received your email. We do have a 20,000 square foot factory unit available in Worcester." So just walk around. A lot of small size restaurants, they'll just have a piece of paper up in the window. That's how I found the 8-foot grocer site. It's a tiny little unit, but just had for rent, shop space for rent, and from that I was able to, my landlord offers me the next site, but I have seen other places around the country with just signs up, so put your shoes on and get out there, and just with estate agents, just take everything that they say with a pinch of salt until you've got contracts sitting in front of you that they'll promise you the earth.
Yeah, there's a business not that far around from you that started as a restaurant in some premises where they were promised the earth, and within 6 months she had to close her entire restaurant down because there was water flooding down the walls of the kitchen that she kitted out and things like that. So everything Chris says about estate agents, basically.
And kind of spoke about market research, but do you guys are you big on social media? What kind of stuff do you do in that area in terms of ongoing marketing?
Well, for me, it's quite easy because I've got a very sort of a brand that's got quite a cheeky personality. So social media, I should do 100% more than I do, and I should use it. And because it's an easy tool for me because the brand has a character, and so it's very easy to say stupid things and to be flippant and to use social media in the way that you would as a normal person and give, reinforce and build that character whilst getting the message about what we're up to and what products available and offers and things like that out there. But I must admit, I don't do that enough. I would genuinely, if you can rope anyone else in to just take that over for you, do.
So recently I promoted one of my supervisors to manager, which has taken me out of a good chunk of day-to-day. So I'm actually just about starting to ramp up our social media because it is one of these things that when you've got 1,000,001 things going on, you kind of forget to do it, or something else is more important. But it's so easy to bring in those extra 2 customers, and if those customers see a social media post, they come in, and then they come in another 20 times that year. That's worth a lot of time. So even if you feel you don't have enough time to put something that's incredibly beautiful, just keep it going. Just every so often, we put pictures of the jewellery quarter because it's a pretty little area, but it keeps people coming back. And I don't know, you just have to get someone who knows more about social media. But if you keep posting, it seems that it's just you go up on people's kind of stuff that appears. So just make sure you keep doing it.
Yeah, a lot of our stuff is social media based, and mainly just to keep you at the top of the mind. I'm terrible. Like what the guy said, I mean, I used to work in the marketing space, and I'm still terrible at doing it. Just trying to get on things and trying to get around to it. But our social media is varied because what you'll find is people respond to different things. So initially, when I started the business, we wanted this kind of clean looking social media kind of Instagram account that was all slick and stuff. And then I posted the one day a photo of like 60 to 100 meals just on the counter that we had, and took a photo of it, and it generated huge engagement, which was not what I was expecting. So we kind of went with the same theme, and it did the same. And of recent, I've just started posting memes on our Dine account, which I was very kind of like, oh, should we do this or not? And the other day, it hit 600 likes, and our meal prep photos hit about 80 to 90. So what we tend to do is we alternate. So people like the funny Instagram meme, because I mean I only go on Instagram for memes. So we post those, and then people continue to like and laugh and tag friends, because it's not, look at what we do, we're amazing. And then we post a food photo because they don't mind seeing it, because they know they're going to see something funny thereafter. So just changing it up. We also use text marketing, which not many people do, which is why we do it now. Emails I don't touch because I'm just terrible at keeping up with them. So we use text as a direct way to get to customers. There's no spam filter, and we only use it for customers because we know that they've already purchased the product. If they're in a kind of cycle, we can remarket to them, and so on and so forth. So text and Instagram, social media, we use a lot of.
Just thought of another one. Can you tell us about how you did your pricing? How did you decide how much you were going to charge?
Well, for us, pricing-wise, we wanted to keep it kind of cost-efficient. Again, Caribbean food, although tends to be a lot of carb and chicken or whatever it might be, can actually be quite expensive. So we wanted to make it cheaper than the high street, and we wanted to make it priced roughly around what our competitors do. We had a price increase just recently, and that was mainly because one, kind of cost of food goes up, so fish and things go up. But two, we were the only people in the space offering what we offer. So we're actually a premium product, a niche product, that if you want it, with the place you can go to. And it might sound a bit kind of cutthroat, but people will pay that bit extra if they're getting good quality, if they know what they're getting. So kind of coupled with price increases from like meats and stuff like that, we had a slight price increase, and we actually had a customer email us who's a regular, and she was like, I'm so upset that the meals have gone up by 20 pence. I used another company. She ordered again. She wasn't happy with the other company. So if you can justify the price you offer, kind of you have to base it on the market a bit and what you think your product's actually worth, not just slap a tag on it and think that works.
Yeah, unfortunately, I struggle with the fact that there's still a lot of people that will go to Lidl and see a sauce on the shelf for 99p and ask why I'm selling my cheapest sauce for £4, and they can't make the link yet between a small scale, independent, completely natural product and one that's manufactured really high volume, as cheaply as possible, with loads of crap in it. And it annoys me and it frustrates me loads, because a lot of people make the comparison between the hot sauce market and what happened with the beer market and not real ale, craft beer, that's not me, not beer drinker, market a few years ago, and it drives me nuts when you go into your local shop and you'll see a can of lager, which is basically an IPA or whatever, for £5, which you'll drink in 30 minutes, and yet a bottle of sauce which you'll get 30 uses out of, and somebody will quibble about paying £4. But, it's just my cross to bear and moan about and share.
So pizzas, there's good margin on them. Your base ingredients are not particularly expensive, but it's a good reason to use good quality ingredients. So for our charcuterie, we use Gage Farm, we use Yester Farm mozzarella, which is Scottish, low moisture mozzarella. There are European products that have gone up 20% in the last 2 years because of the devaluation of the pound, and we see that that's going to happen again. But it's always important to know the margins on your products, and as has already been said, that if you can justify why there's a price increase, So every April, minimum wage goes up, and for labour-intensive businesses like restaurants, that is our biggest expense, much more than ingredients. So as long as you can justify why you're making the increases, then people accept it. And if we have to put up our prices because we're getting squeezed by an increase in costs of produce that comes from Europe, or labour cost increases, it's also going to be hitting the other independents. We're not in direct competition with Domino's or Pizza Hut. We're in competition with other independents who are going to have the same issues that we do. They might try and keep their price a bit lower, but you want to say you have the best product. You're not aiming for the cheapest product. So this is where also we can look back at having a wide variety of customers, because some of your customers, you might increase your product a little bit and they can't afford it, but if you have a wide customer base, then you should still have a good amount of customers. And then in products, I love Pip's hot sauce, and as she said, it's £4 for a bottle of the sauce. Admittedly, I don't get as many uses out of mine as you said you do. That's because it's yummy and I put loads on my bacon sandwiches. But there's always going to be people who want an affordable luxury in crappy times ahead with Brexit. That little bit of Pip's hot sauce on your meal is going to give you a little bit of happiness. You might not be able to afford a new car anymore, but a bottle of the sauce, you can. And there will be people out there, especially as the food market in the UK has improved, even in the kind of 5 years I've been doing business in Birmingham. The restaurant scene in Birmingham has improved, and that's not negative for me. It brings more people out. It means that more people are going to restaurants. It's not a once a month experience. People go to restaurants multiple times a week. We've got customers who come to us all the time, and as long as you don't take the mick with price increases, people will keep coming back.
Wow. Oh, great question.
Do you have any IP rights on your offering? Yeah. And which one?
I can't remember, so I'm not on it.
Why did you start? Ours is only intellectual property wise, just the logo, the name, and the design. So in theory, no one can use the name within the way IP works. I'm not too sure how much you know, but it's based in categories. So you can register, a name or an image and trademark that in a specific category. It doesn't mean somebody else can't use it in an alternative one. So my Dine, the name and the image, the logo is trademarked in the foodstuffs category. Other than that, not so much. Nothing really much we can trademark. Can't trademark chicken, unfortunately. So that's all.
There's some things that you can do to cover your backs with recipes and things like that, which aren't necessary because it's impossible to trademark certain things like that. But there's certain things that you can do in chains of communication and things like that. None of it's 100% fallible, but it's always worth doing.
Yes.
What was your biggest cost starting out, and then looking back, how did you try to decrease those costs?
God, for me, it was purchasing bottles because I had no idea about volume, and this again comes to the fact that I didn't sit down and do a plan or any research. So it was my own stupid fault. I fell into this position where I suddenly needed to buy some bottles, and so I just Googled whoever I could find off them. I didn't negotiate. I didn't look at buying in bulk because I didn't even know how many I'd need at any point. At one point, I think it was about the third time I was going to buy some bottles, I turned around to my dad and said, "Look, can you help me out?" And again, still, I look back at it, I still cringe at the price I paid, but I got sent this pallet of bottles to my house, which is a terraced house on a really busy road, and a lorry came along and dropped this pallet on the pavement and just went, there you go, love, see ya. And I, in the middle of it, and then it started to bloody rain, and I had to unload this pallet and bring it out with all the people on my road going, "What are you doing?" And, you know, it wasn't ideal, it was really stupid, and it was down to the fact that I hadn't done any planning, which is why it's so necessary. Because I paid probably 4 times and possibly even more per unit than I do nowadays. So, yeah, I got stung. And I deserve to for not planning.
I think mine would have probably been, we did the Good Food Show a year ago.
God.
So, another horror story. So, and I guess the learning curve for me was that I never actually wanted to do it. It was a friend of mine's dad who was like, right, you need to do the Good Food Show, that's where all the foodies are, that's where you need to be. And I was never really sold on the idea of doing it, just because my thing was, well, why don't we just do Body Power Expo, because that kind of fits in better to what we do. He was adamant on it, and he also gave us a bit of funding towards it. Long story short, we wasted like 7 or 8 grand doing that show in the end. And I was, after day one, I was like, I'm over it. And it's a 4-day show, and it's quite intense. What I would do again. And I think the big thing in that whole thing, outside of the Good Food Show, is probably not to be as swayed by other people's opinion. Because I would say I'm quite a headstrong person, but I guess when someone goes, you know, do this because it will achieve this result, and in hindsight I think about it and I think, well, he knew nothing about the food business, he worked in the aerospace industry, but because he was like, here's X amount of money, you kind of went, oh, I guess I've got to do it now. So be a bit more firm in your kind of your beliefs.
Can I just nip in there and say, event salespeople, they're in the same category as estate agents. Never forget that, ever.
So biggest expense, great big pizza oven, but you need one if you're going to a qualified pizza restaurant. An unexpected expense was months of rent. We had a planning issue. We had something which, so we had planning consent, but we needed discharge conditions. It's basically, we had permission to have this oven in here in extraction. You just need to provide details. Birmingham Council Planning Department is horribly understaffed. You know, they're terrible, but it's because they're understaffed. We went through 5 different planners because they kept quitting. So each time we got to a new one, we had to start again. So I paid a vast amount of rent for an empty room, pretty much. We tried to make the best of a bad situation by doing a pop-up for 2 months, which was, my girlfriend at the time was, well, she still is Mexican. So we did a pop-up taco shop for 2 months in the summer to have some money coming in, but still the cost of the rent going out. So when it comes to planning, if you know you've got good architects who say that this is 100% going to be passed, ask for forgiveness rather than permission. There were restaurants that opened and were trading for months before me that took their rent out after because they got planning consent retrospectively. So do that.
Great, well, we'll probably leave it there, I think. Although actually I had one more question that's just a fun one, is, so you guys love food. Can you give everyone here your best food recommendation in Birmingham? Where's somewhere they should go and eat tonight or over the weekend?
Otto.
Otto, yeah. I love Otto. Do you have any favourite places? Any like local food heroes you want to shout out?
I really like the new Soho Tavern in Handsworth. It's a desi pub. It's not particularly expensive. I must have been over the last 4 years at least 20 times. It's always busy. It's if you catch the tram to Benson Street, and it's just off there. So yeah, definitely worth going.
I actually went to a place last week. A place called, I think it's Mount Number, which is a Turkish restaurant. From the outside, it looks dreadful. Like, it's actually down the road from my house, and I used to work in the restaurant there before it was taken over. And from the outside, I was adamant in Vietnam not eating there. It was horrendous. It was terrible. They've got misspelled kind of like marketing straight up front. It's terrible. But when you go in, actually, it's a really nice restaurant. The food's really good. You can get massive like Turkish food platters, which like spam across the table. I definitely check that place out. Mount Number.
I just said
You've done it. Okay, great. All right, well, let's give these guys a big round of applause for all their insights. great. Covered so much, and hopefully you've all learned something and you feel a bit inspired to do something yourselves. I think these guys will be around a little bit longer if you maybe have any kind of specific questions you didn't want to ask to everybody. And if you're interested in any of the stuff I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to be here as well. So thank you for coming.
They are cute. Their legs are too long. Actually, I need to charge them. Oh, thanks. That's alright. That's a networking opportunity. I didn't let them sit down so long. Yeah.
So I'm super excited that you're much choosing Sutton as your next venue.
Oh my god, please, can you? Please, please, please.